Hey guys, welcome back to the Bass Garage. Today we're working on a 2012, 13-ish Civic. We're doing brakes all the way around. We're doing struts, quick struts, and rear shocks. This is going to be like kind of a little how-to, just a little guidance. Not going to get too in-depth with it, but it'll get you enough information. First off, on the top of the struts here, there's a little cover that goes on there. You pop this little rubber piece, pops out, and then you have three 14mm nuts in there. Now, it doesn't give you much room, but you can do it without taking this whole plastic piece off. So I have, like I said, 14mm. I got this gear wrench. It's got the ratchet on one end, and then it's got, see how that's made right there? So you can actually get down in there deep onto the nut there, and then you get it loose, and then you can flip around to the ratchet end. So you got that there. So I'll show you that. I showed you that. Now down here, I already got this loose, but you got your sway bar here, which is a 14. Now these can be tricky because these have an Allen wrench hole here, but you always get rust built up here. So what I do is put a penetrant on there, wire brush it, and let it soak a little bit. And then I come back here with a pair of like needle nose vice grips and clamp down on this part here, and then use an impact. You don't want to keep spinning the ball socket joint. So you get that off. You'll probably want to get all this stuff off first before you get to the top. Then over here, you got your brake hose, which is a 12mm right there, and then you have a clip right here, and then a clip right here, and you pop those off. Then you'll have, which I already took these out, but you'll have 17 on one side and 19mm on the other side. So you have two bolts, one there, and then you'll need an impact. You can do it by hand with a big 1/2-inch ratchet or breaker bar, but impact makes it a lot easier. And then you take those out. So technically you start down here, and then you go up on the top for the 3 14mm up there. And that's just kind of, you just got to be careful when you separate the spindle from the strut, so you don't pull the joint apart down here, and actually, or the inner one. So again, it's 12mm. And I believe that was a 14 here. And then your two clips, and then it's got 17 on one side, 19 on the other for the two bolts on the bottom. And then just get that wiggled out, the spindle, and then get the rear one and the other one nut out first, and then the one that's closest to you, make that last. So you could put one hand underneath, grab the strut like this, and then have the other hand to get that nut off top and drop it down, because you don't want to rip your ABS wire right here, or your hose. So you got to be very careful there. And then basically it's the reverse process. You put this up in there, and then put one nut on there, get it as far as you can by hand, by finger tight, and then get the other one started, and then go ahead and get this tightened up, and then basically it's the reverse process. Same thing on this, just put your vice grip, those vice grips on there. Now some cars have it to where you can put a wrench back here, slot it, which makes it a lot easier, but these are OEM ones, and check these too, because sometimes these could be bad. So check them before you take them apart. If they're bad, just go ahead and replace them while you're in there. All right, guys, so got the new strut in there. Just started the top bolts here. Now there is a little access rubber piece here on the side. You could pop that down. So if you're using a ratchet wrench, you can put your finger in there, hold the center of the ratchet wrench to, until it starts tightening up pretty good, and then you can take your finger out of there, because it is tight. I mean, it's definitely not fun, but still, I believe, saves you a lot of time. I think they changed. So the new bolts, the new nuts on here, they changed to 15mm on me. They were 14. The factory ones are 14. If yours has been replaced before, it might be at 15. But it is a lot easier. You're still going to save a lot of time taking the wiper arms off and all that plastic and the other metal piece underneath. You know, once you get it going, it pretty much just, I highly recommend a long ratchet wrench. This is going to make your life a lot easier. With a regular wrench or even a short ratchet wrench, it's going to be a little more difficult. But you know, if you do enough work on cars or plan on doing a lot, it might be worth buying a whole set of these, because these work great for rear brake caliber bolts, because you got a lot more leverage on them. And the way the non-ratchet end is made, how it drops down like that, that comes in handy a lot, especially if you're working on these imports. So yeah, basically get it wrapped down as far as you can, and then use the other end to really snug it up, and then repeat that on the other two. All right, so all that's tightened up there. So now I got the rubber pieces back in. It should look like that here on the side here, and here. And then, you know, the passenger side and driver side is pretty much the exact same setup, just opposite sides. So if you can do one side, you can do the other. Would recommend, though, especially on an older Honda or something, is use anti-seize on some of the threads, just a little bit. You don't have to overdo it because you'll be wearing it. Just so next time you go in down the road, especially if it's your own car, it won't be seized up, because there's a good chance of, you know, not necessarily up here on the top, but like on the bottom bolts, if you're doing control arm stuff, it's a good practice. Later on, you had to get back into it. You don't have to fight it. Save you a little bit of time. So now we're going to get down here to the bottom. Let me set up here. Hoping you can see there. All right. So I might have to turn this a little bit to get that lined up. And you can use a jack or use your leg or knee, which mine's hurting pretty bad. And we let her try to get the holes lined up. Alright, got one through. And then the bottom one's through. And then we'll put the, just get the nuts started on there. Some vehicles have cammed bolts, so you gotta be careful. Some have spines when you pull it in. So I knew this wasn't like that, but a lot of times what you want to do is mark it, you know, straight up on top. That way when you would put the bolt back in, you know exactly where it needs to go on the new strut. Is it straight up or straight down? And then you'll want to make sure you hold ones like that. You want to make sure you hold the bolt head so it doesn't spin. You only want to tighten up with the impact the nut side of it. Switch this. Again, here I'm using the same type of wrench I used up on the top. Different size, and they work great. So those are in place, both sides. Now we can go ahead and clip in the ABS wire, and then the next thing we'll do is put 12mm bolt in that holds in the brake hose. challenging here doing this with one hand. But on these, you want to be careful because like the bracket itself, I'm gonna do this real quick. Be right back. All right, back here. I needed two hands, so I'm back. So what I was saying was you got to watch this part here has to go. So you got to make sure that it's down in the groove before you tighten it up. Otherwise, it could be off like that. You tighten it up like that instead of sitting flush in there. So that's something to look for. And then once that's tightened down, you'll go up here, put you some vice grips on here, and then maybe spray just a little lube on there, and then put your nut on there, vice grip back here, lube that up a little bit, put your nut on there. I was talking about anti-seize before. Might be a good idea to put some anti-seize on there, and then tighten that up. And then just go back, double check everything, make sure you have everything where it's supposed to go before you're done. And that pretty much, that pretty much is it. Now, usually recommend getting alignment after replacing this kind of stuff because, like with this, has new springs in it. It's going to be sitting up a little higher. It's got to settle a little bit. So, I recommend alignment, to be honest. Just anytime you're changing any suspension parts, it's best to get an alignment. So that pretty much sums up the strut replacement. Like I said, one side's the same as the other, pretty much on the, like I said, it's 12, 13 Civic, 9th gen. And then we'll be back with the rear in just a minute. All right, guys, we're back now. We're in the rear of the car. There's the top of the shock there. And then right there's the bottom bolt. So we gotta take the bottom bolt out. Then we come up here to the top. I should have this already down. And we got to pull the carpet down, and then there's the top mount. Now they do have a little spot here you could put a little wrench or something on, a little vice grip, and then use a ratchet wrench or something to get that off there. So yeah, this is all in the trunk here. This is on the driver's side. So let's get to it. All right, guys, what I had to do was, I'm going to show you real quick because it was pretty tight. I put the needle nose vice grips at the top there. And then, let's see, get this set back in place. And I used the 14 millimeter impact socket with an impact, and that got it right off of there. And then basically now you got the upper washer there, and then when you pull the strut out, you have this bushing still up here. And then basically you'll put the bushings, I'll show you, bushings and everything on the bottom, push it up in there, and then reassemble. Be right back with you. All right, guys, so got the new one in there. I got the bottom bolt started in there by hand, and we had they come with a new bushing for here, but I used the old one because it fit better. It's still in good shape. I mean, I just don't want to have to take it back apart if for some reason the new bushing ain't right. So then on the top, because it only comes with the bottom bushing, this shock does. So you had to use the top one and reuse this washer. It does come with a different size nut. This has an Allen wrench hole in the top so you can hold it, and it's got the lock nut. Now if they're different threads, this is different threads from the original, so I wish it was the same because I'd use the original nut. Just Honda's design, they do put a lot of research and everything into what they do. So, but anywho, so then I took and put a jack with a block of wood under the control arm to raise it up to push the shock up to where I can get this on here. So basically now what I'm gonna do is get an Allen wrench, put it down through the center, and then put a ratchet wrench on it and tighten it down. All right, guys. So for this one, it's a 5 millimeter Allen wrench, and then the new nut is a 15 millimeter, where the factory one was a 14 millimeter. So basically now we're just going to hold it, the shock stud with the Allen wrench, and then just tighten her on down. You don't want to go too crazy. Like it should bottom out. There's a metal sleeve in between those, in the middle of those bushings, so it should bottom out. But when you put new bushings in there, it might take a little bit more to get them pushed down and compressed into place, so to speak. All right, nice and tight. So the top end is done. Now we're going to take our 14 millimeter and impact. I'm going to go underneath here. Let me grab my light so we all can see, because can't see nothing. Let's see. All right, now I'm going to take the socket here. I got to start it by hand. I just want to make sure that it's going to tighten up here. I don't want to cross thread nothing, put the impact on there and go all crazy with it, and then we'll really have some problems. All right. So what I'm going to do, I just want to make sure that will go through. So we're good there. Now I'm going to try to jack this up some, because you really don't want to tighten these down until you have it, you know, like the body's starting to come off the lift now. So we know that it's like if it was with weight of the car on it. And then we got that tightened up. And then I'll take, because if you don't, it could rip the bushing out of there. It's just like the same thing, rule of thumb for like control arm bushings. You can like kind of lightly get them up there, but you don't want to completely tighten them down until you got the car on the ground or jack under it till the car's getting ready to lift up off the jack stands or lift or whatever you're using. So basically that concludes the install of the rear shocks and struts on a 9th gen Civic. If you guys have any questions or comments or concerns, or there's an easier way to do this that I don't know about, or even the front or rear, whichever, please comment down there, let me know. And if you have any questions about anything. The other thing I wanted to show you guys, I know this really has nothing to do with the video, but I'm all about, it's all car stuff. So I wanted to show you guys these nice new brake pads. Yeah, this is what happens. See, there's a little thing right there. It's called a brake wear indicator. And those, when the brake lining gets down so far, it'll start making a squeaking noise. Now, if you ignore it, it'll just wear down, and it'll wear now through there. Then you destroy rotors, possibly push the piston out of the caliper, and you know that this right here, the car wasn't stopping very good at all. And I haven't got to the rear brakes yet, but I'm pretty sure they're worse than that. Let me just give you a little glimpse, if we can see it here without a light. You can see that rotor. If you know, you know. But just a little safety stuff, folks. We need brakes, okay? That keeps us, our family, and every other person on the road safe. If you're not sure what you're doing with brakes, please don't do them. Please give them to somebody who does know what they're doing, because it could be a really bad day. Somebody could lose their lives. And especially if you love your car, you definitely don't want to wreck your car up. So that'll conclude the video for front struts. I'd use quick struts because those have new springs and everything in there. Remember, when you go to put it on the ground, it's going to sit a little higher than it normally did because the springs need to compress still. Just kind of settle in, so to speak. And the rear shock's pretty straightforward ordeal. Again, you can do all this with hand tools. Takes a little longer, a little more aggravating if you don't have an impact. If you work on cars a lot, or you like to work on cars a lot, or get into it, spend a little money, invest in what you like to do, and buy you some tools, because it'll make your life a lot easier. But I want to thank everybody for watching this video. Subscribe if you haven't, like the video, comment, share it on to your friends if you have some friends that might be into this kind of stuff. We have all kinds of stuff, and I haven't had a video in a while, but that's why we're getting a video to you now. I'm just a very busy person, and and sometimes I do these jobs and I don't record them because recording takes time. I know this video isn't perfect. I don't have nobody helping me here. I'm doing it all by myself, so please bear with me. I'm doing the best I can. But yeah, should be some new videos coming up soon. I actually will have a video coming up soon on the 55 Chevy. If you haven't seen that video talking about it, or short that I talked about it, actually, go over and check those shorts out. We got almost all of our parts, and we're waiting on some more stuff, and then we're going to be getting into that, doing the power disc brake conversion, and all new front end parts, cleaning old parts, painting them. I mean, it's a lot of work, but if you guys are interested in that kind of stuff, like and subscribe, and stay tuned for those videos. I appreciate each and every one of you guys for subscribing, watching these videos, liking these videos, commenting on the videos. It really helps us out here. So if you take care of us, we're going to do our best to take care of you guys in these videos. But till the next one, keep your hands dirty.